Top 9 Most Popular Religions in Africa. Hello Displorers, welcome to another informative video presented to you by Displore and thanks for watching. In this video we shall be bringing to you the top 9 most popular religions in Africa. Believe it or not, Africa is deeply rooted in religion, so much that it has a major influence on lifestyle, arts, culture and tradition of the people in the continent. Before the coming of the colonial masters, missionaries and traders that visited Africa, Africa was deeply rooted into various African religions and practices, which were embedded in the way of life of the people. With the coming of the visitors, traders and missionaries in Africa, the continent was introduced into many other foreign religious practices which were made to dilute in some cases and replace the default African traditions. Today, the continent's various populations and individuals are mostly adherents of certain religions which were adopted from other continents other than Africa and to a lesser extent several traditional African religions. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. There are so many diverse religious practices in different parts of Africa, including traditional religions, which exist within particular tribes in particular regions. We shall exclude atheist and irreligious people from the list because they don't particularly fall under any religion, and the number of people who don't fall under any religion in Africa is quite huge. So according to Wikipedia, a survey by Britannica.com and a compilation by AFK Insider, these are the most popular religions in the continent. Number 9. Jains. About 20,000 faithfuls. Jains are strict vegetarians and live in a way that minimizes the use of the world's resources. Jains believe in reincarnation and seek to attain ultimate liberation, which means escaping the continuous cycle of birth, death and rebirth so that the immortal soul lives forever in the state of bliss. Though it was introduced to the continent later as a result of immigration from India in the 19th century, Jainism has grown in Africa to become a strong religion in Africa. Strong Jain communities exist, in Kenya in particular, one of the first countries to receive Jain immigrants, and temples in Nairobi and Mombasa organize cultural and religious activities year-round. While there had been a strong Jain community in Uganda, many were forced out as a result of Idi Amin's policies, resulting in larger Jain populations in South Africa, Tanzania and Sudan. There are currently about 20,000 people in Africa practicing the Jain's religion. Number 8. Chinese folk religions. About 100,000 faithfuls. Chinese folk religions cannot be confined to one particular set of beliefs, as they incorporate many traditional Chinese schools of thought, including but not limited to Universalism, Confucianism and Neo-Confucianism, Taoism, and many more. Large minorities of Chinese immigrants live in South Africa and Mauritius, making up the majority of these communities, but representing the diversity of the continent, they can easily be found in every region. Combined with Taoism and Chinese folk religion as a common traditional religion of mostly new Chinese migrants, significant minority in Mauritius, Reunion, and South Africa. Number 7. Judaism. About 150,000 faithfuls. One doesn't necessarily associate Judaism with a strong African heritage, but some of the oldest Jewish populations in the world can be found on the continent. Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews have a strong presence in northern Africa, where thousands have been seen in the first Jewish diasporas and many more followed after their expulsion from Liberia in the 15th century. Ashkenazi Jews live in South Africa, where many Lithuanians fled during the Holocaust, and strong Jewish communities grew up throughout the country, especially in Cape Town. Finally, small pockets of groups are scattered throughout the continent that have developed their own traditions, but are rooted in Jewish tradition and trace back to ancient Israel. For instance, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia and the Lemba in Zimbabwe and South Africa are both recognized as historically Jewish, though their practices may vary. Number 6. Buddhism. About 250,000 faithfuls. Buddhism is a tiny religion in Africa with around 250,000 people practicing adherents and up to nearly 400,000. About half of African Buddhists are now living in South Africa, while Mauritius has the highest Buddhist percentage in the continent, between 1.5% to 2% of the total population. Many of the Buddhist adherents in Africa are of Chinese, Vietnamese or Japanese descent, again due to the high numbers of immigrants from those countries. While the largest Buddhist population on the continent live in South Africa, it only makes up 0.2 to 0.3% of the population, though it had been shown that this number is growing by the year. Other strong Buddhist communities exist in countries along the Indian Ocean, and Mauritius has a high Buddhist population as well. Confusing numbers have been shown for Northern Africa, given the high number of Asian workers, but it is unclear how many of these are permanent residents or citizens. Number 5. Baha'i Faith, about 300,000 faithfuls. The Baha'i Faith in Africa has a diverse history. It especially had wide-scale growth in the 1950s, which extended further in the 1960s. The Association of Religious Data Archives, relying on World Christian Encyclopedia, lists many large and smaller populations in Africa, with Kenya, Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Africa and Zambia being among the top 10 numerical populations of Baha'is, over 200,000 adherents, and Mauritius in terms of percentage of the national population. All three individual heads of the religion, Bahalula, Abdullah Baha, and Shogdi Effendi, were in Africa at various times. Some of the largest populations of Baha'i in the world exist in Africa, primarily in Kenya, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Africa, Zambia, and Mauritius. While they also have a strong presence in Egypt, the country where they were arguably introduced to the continent, and the northern Africa at large, political strife resulted in their rights being taken away as a religious group, and they have struggled since to regain their rights and societal standing. As a result, Baha'is followers have flourished more in sub-Saharan Africa, where wide-scale growth made them the third largest religion on the region. Number 4. Hinduism, about 2.5 million faithfuls. Hinduism has existed in Africa mainly since the late 19th century. There are an estimated 2 to 2.5 million adherents of Hinduism in Africa. It is the largest religion in Mauritius, and several other countries have Hindu temples. Hindus came to South Africa as indentured laborers in the 19th century. The young M.K. Gandhi lived and worked among the Indian community in South Africa for 20 years before returning to India to participate in India's freedom movement. Though only one country in Africa, Mauritius, has Hinduism as its dominant religion, it has a strong presence throughout the continent that can be felt especially in East Africa. Initially taking root in the late 19th century following the British colonization, Hinduism arrived with many Indians brought to Southern and Eastern Africa as indentured servants. Even after colonial rule ended, many facets of Indian culture remained, as did descendants of former servants. Indo-African communities are extremely common throughout the continent, particularly in former British colonies, and the Hindu community is continuously growing. Number 3. African tradition, about 100 million faithfuls. Africa encompasses a wide variety of traditional beliefs. Although religious customs are sometimes shared by many local societies, they are usually unique to specific populations or geographic regions. All traditional African religions are united by a shared animistic core with special importance to ancestor worship. According to Dr. J. Omoshade Awolalu, the traditional in this context means indigenous, that which is foundational, handed down from generation to generation, meant as to be upheld and practiced today and forevermore, a heritage from the past, yet not treated as a thing of the past, but that which connects the past with the present and the present with eternity. It is difficult to generalize these indigenous religions due to the diversity of African cultures, but they do have some characteristics in common. Almost all are oral rather than scriptural. They include belief in a supreme being, belief in spirits and other divinities, veneration of ancestors, use of magic, traditional medicine, art, rituals and festivals, beliefs and customs, names of people and places, songs and dances, proverbs and myths. The extent of adherence to traditional religion in Africa is hard to estimate due to meddling practices with Christianity and Islam. Number 2. Islam, about 446 million faithfuls. Islam is the other major religion in Africa alongside Christianity, with 41% of the population being Muslim, accounting for 1/4 of the world's Muslim population. The faith's historic roots on the continent stem from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, whose early disciples migrated to Abyssinia in fear of persecution from the pagan Arabs. The spread of Islam in North Africa came with the expansion of Arab Empire under Caliph Umar through the Sinai Peninsula. The spread of Islam in West Africa was through Islamic traders and sailors. Islam is the dominant religion in North Africa and the Horn of Africa, the Swahili coast as well as the West African seaboard and parts of the interior. There have been several Muslim empires in Western Africa which exerted considerable influence, notably the Mali Empire, which flourished for several centuries, and the Songa Empire under the leadership of Mansa Musa, Sunni Ali and Askia Muhammad. The majority of the Muslims in Africa are either non-denominational Muslims or Sunni, belonging to either Maliki or Shafi schools of jurisprudence. However, Hanafi schools of jurisprudence is also represented, mainly in Egypt. There are also sizable minorities of Quranists, Shias, Ahmadis, Ibadi, and Sufis. Minoring the statistics of the rest of the world, the Muslim population in Africa is predominantly Sunni, but there is a large Shia population as well. Additionally, Sufism has a large presence as a more mystical dimension of Islam that is sometimes considered its own philosophy altogether. Unsurprisingly, the largest pockets of Muslims live in Northern Africa, but the Horn of Africa, the Swahili Coast, and West Africa also have large populations. In comparison, very few Muslims live in South Africa, where Christianity and other traditional religions have a larger following. Number 1. Christianity, about 600 million faithfuls. Christianity is a religion based on the person and teachings of Jesus Christ, or its beliefs and practices. Christianity is now one of the most widely practiced religions in Africa, along with Islam, and is the largest religion in sub-Saharan Africa. All affiliations of Christianity are included in one category for the purposes of this video: Roman Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox, Anglicans, Independent and non-affiliated Christians. Smaller sects as well as bigger sects are also included. The oldest Christian denominations in Africa are the Eastern Orthodox Church of Alexandria, the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria and Ethiopian Orthodox, Tewahedo Church, and the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church, which rose to prominence in the 4th century AD after King Ezana the Great made Ethiopia one of the first Christian nations. The earliest and best known references to the introduction of Christianity to Africa is mentioned in the Christian's Bible Acts of the Apostles and pertains to the evangelist Philip's conversion of an Ethiopian traveler in the 1st century AD. Although the Bible refers to them as Ethiopians, scholars have argued that Ethiopia was a common term encompassing the area south-southeast of Egypt. There you have it, explorers. Those were the top 9 most popular religions in Africa. Thanks for watching this video. If you want us to cover any of the top 10 topics, leave your suggestions in the comments and we will do well to grant your request. Also, if you did enjoy this video, do well to give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe and share with your friends.